Come on, let's go to the word. Jeremiah 29, verse 13 says, "You will seek me and find me when you seek me with all your heart." If you seek him, you will find him. Tell somebody else, if you seek him, you're going to find him. Tell somebody else, I said it, if you seek him, you're going to find him. If you want him, you need to go on and get him. Tell your neighbor, if you want him, go get him. If you need him, anybody need him in here? Tell your neighbor, if you need him, let's go get him. Let's go seek him. Let's go hunt after him. Somebody give him some praise if you know that his word is true. That is the roadmap to supernatural success, significance, and the abundant life. It's more than a theme. It comes from the word where Jesus said, "But seek ye first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be added unto you." So we have made up our mind that we are seeking, we are going after, we are chasing, we are pursuing, we are thirsty for. We're making the kingdom above all other things our priority. Above all else, we are seeking his kingdom and his will to be done on earth as it is in heaven. We're doing it so because we know that seeking the kingdom is seeking the multifaceted manifestation of God's rule, his lordship, his authority, his dominion, his power in the earth realm. We are seeking to be and do as God would be and do in the earth realm. We're saying, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Somebody say, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. You cannot have a kingdom without a king. And Jesus, the Christ, is the king, and the Lord is king forever. Somebody holler, the Lord, he is king. Say it again, the Lord, he is king. Say it one more time, the Lord, he is king. So in seeking the kingdom, we are seeking the king. In seeking his kingdom, we must first seek him. For everything we need is in him. Everything you think you want is in him. Everything that's going to make any difference in your life is in him. Salvation is in him. Deliverance is in him. Your breakthrough is in him. Come on, everything you need is in him. Finances are in him. Righteousness is in him. Peace is in him. Joy is in him. The Holy Ghost is in him. The kingdom is in him. Everything you need is in him. Anybody need him today? I dare you to give him some praise up there in the balcony, like you can manifest his presence right there in the back row. Somebody ought to give God praise, because in him we live and move and have our being. Touch three people and tell them, in him, in him, in him, in him. So we got to seek him. And I don't know about you, but I need him now more than I've ever needed him before. I need God to show up in a situation that I can think of right now. Show up and show out. Anybody need God to show up and show out? I dare you to give him some show out praise. See, you got to show out if you want him to show. Somebody holler, show out, God. And the word said, if you seek him, son, you will find him. I'm sure glad that God keeps his promise. If you seek him, you're going to find him, daughter. If you seek him, you're going to find him. And it ain't because God is lost. Tell somebody God ain't lost. The problem is, as we journey on this life, every once in a while we get lost. Every once in a while you can wander away from God right in church. And I don't know about you, but I have wandered on occasion. Anybody in here besides me ever been stuck on stupid and just kind of wandered away from God? Y'all ain't hear me real good. You can be in church for years and still not see God because you got to seek him to see him. You can sing about him, check it out. You can preach about him, check it out. You can usher, you can deacon, you can do everything in church and still not find the God of the church, because when you come in, you got to look for him. You got to hunt for him. You got to say, God, are you here? God, are you there? God, I need you to show up. I love God because God says no matter how long you wander and no matter how far you get away, he says, if you make up your mind to say that you're going to seek him, I can keep my promise, and it ain't nothing you've done. He says, I'm still going to show up. Tell somebody God's going to show up. See, I like God because, you can really jack some stuff up, because here in Jeremiah 29:10, the prophet Jeremiah has inserted a letter, mama, to the exiles who were on time out living in Babylon. They had messed up because they did not listen to the words of the prophet. When you go home, read Jeremiah 25, and you'll hear Jeremiah telling them, I came to you and said, thus saith the Lord. I gave you the word that said, don't play with other gods. Don't be worshiping them other folks' stuff. Don't intermarry with them other jokers, because it's going to jack you up. This is the Trunell Felder version. He said, but you ain't listened to me. You were tripping, acting like you didn't hear what I said when I said what I said. So as a result, now you got to be in God timeout. See, I don't know about you, but my parents didn't do timeout. They didn't do on punishment. They punished you. Y'all ain't hear me. Some of y'all might think that was abuse, but it helped me out pretty good. Got a whooping. See, and nowadays we put them on timeout. We take their phone, we take their stuff. But you need to understand, if you think your mama and them's timeout is something, try being on timeout by Abba Father. For 70 years, these jokers were in exile because they decided to do it their way and not God's way. Look at your neighbor and say, you ain't got time for that. Do it God's way. So come on. Sin will always put you in bondage. Sin always advertises more excitement than it delivers. It'll give you something for a short term, but you gotta pay a long time to get over it, y'all. Anybody know I ain't lying up in here? If I'm lying, I'm flying and I'm on the ground. Somebody need to hear me up in here. Sin never gives you what it promises, and it always makes you pay longer than you're willing to pay. But what I love about my God is even when he punishes, he's already in the process of restoration. Do I have anybody up in here who's glad that even when God punishes? See, because an illegitimate child is a bastard child and they don't get punished. But God says you are legitimate children. And I love you, so every once in a while, I got to tighten you up. Come on. Anybody in here ever got tightened up by God? I know that ain't good preaching right there, but it sure is the truth. And God will still talk to you while he whooping you. Just like Big Mama. Big Mama make you get your own switch and start by the bush in the backyard, whip you up onto the porch, and then say, now go on up in the house. And I used to get mad. Now, I told you from the beginning not to do that, and Mama only getting you because she loved you. I said, well, love me different. Don't love me like that. She be crying, whipping me. What you crying for? I'm the one getting it. But somebody ought to give God praise that every once in a while, he'll take out the spiritual wood, because where you are is not what he has for you, and he's trying to get you to it all. Somebody ought to tell God, thank you, in the middle of the pain. Oh, wait. Go on, stay in verse 10. It said, this is what the Lord says. When 70 years are completed for Babylon, he said, I will come to you, and I am going to fulfill my gracious promise to bring you back to this place. Somebody said, thank you, Jesus. He says, for I know the plans I have for you. Plans to prosper you, not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future. Wait a minute. Even though they messed up, God says, I know the plans I have for you. Even when I mess up, means you ought to get ready today for the plans that y'all need to hear me. In other words, God says, I am the God of a second chance. Is anybody here glad that God is the God of a second chance? Anybody here glad that even though you squander your stuff, God stands like the daddy to the prodigal son that says, when you come to yourself and make up your mind to come back correct, daddy says, I'm right there with you. He says, as a matter of fact, we about to throw you a party. Is there anybody who's ready for God to throw them a party? Because see, ain't no party like a God having party, because a show enough party, y'all need to give God some praise. Because the kingdom is, I don't care what you've done, how messed up you are, how long you did it. God says, I am the God of the redo. He says, I'm the God of the makeover. Anybody need for God to do a makeover? He said, if I did it for drunk Noah, I can do it for you. If I did it for Rahab the harlot, I can do it for you. If I did it for stuttering Moses, I can do it for you. Is there anybody here ready to stand in line and say, God, I can deal with a redo right now in the name? Give him some redo praise up in here. Daddy says this, if you seek me, you're going to find me. If you seek me, you're going to find me. He said, if you seek me, you're going to find me. If you seek me, you're going to find me. He said, but here's the caveat. You got to seek me with your whole heart. Somebody say whole heart. Come on, look at it again, verse 13. That's it right there. He said, you will seek me and find me when you seek me with all your heart. When you seek me with your mind, when you seek me with your reins, when you seek me with your kidney, when you seek me with your intelligence and your emotion, God reiterates this thing. He says it again in Deuteronomy 4:29 through Moses. He says, but if from there, if from your place of mess up, you seek the Lord your God, he said, you will find him if you look for him with all your heart and with all your soul. Lean on somebody and say, put some soul in it. Tell them again, put some soul in it. God says, be clear. If you expect to find me, you must seek me with your everything. God says, I don't want no half-hearted engagement. He said, if you're going to come up in the camp, make sure you come correct. He said, make sure you come with everything. What was that first sermon, living for an audience of one? That comes from Deuteronomy 6:4. Where God says, hear, O Israel, hear, O new faith, the Lord our God is one. He says, love the Lord your God with all of your heart, with all of your soul, with all of your strength. When the lawyer came and asked Jesus, what's the greatest commandment? He said, forget all them other rules. This is the one you got to get. Love the Lord your God with all of your heart, with all of your soul, and with all of your intellect. And the second is like unto it, then you can love your neighbor as yourself. But you got to first start with wholehearted stuff. Y'all need to understand, that's the theme in a nutshell. But more than that, that is your life in a nutshell. If you would seek God with all of your heart, with all of your soul, and with all of your mind, every waking moment of your life, God says, I'll show up in your life in some wild ways that you could not even imagine. God says, stop coming to me half-hearted. He says, don't come to me 99 and a half. He says, I want you to come 100. If you ain't going to come 100, don't even come. And God says, I want you to give me everything. Why should God expect it? Because he didn't gave everything for each and every one of us. And God says, what I know about you because I designed you is that people pursue what they love. People chase after what they love even if it ain't good for them because they can't help it because they love. Y'all ain't hearing me. Even if they bad for you. Anybody ever chase something that was bad for you? Go and tell the truth, shame the devil. No, they wasn't no good. No, they was dirty. No, they was shady as shade. But you still ran after them anyhow because you thought you could redeem them. Any of y'all ever had some helper joker? You figured you could help them be better than they was before? You better put them down. If they didn't listen to their mama or listen to God, they ain't gonna listen to you. Stop going to save folk and get some folk that's already saved so they can get you to, oh, y'all ain't hearing me up in here. You need to get people pursue what they love. Come on now. If you love cards, we ain't got to wonder where you play, whether you love cards. You're going to play you some bid wish. You're going to be passionate about it. You're going to get mad, be emotional. If you love money, that's what you do. You talk money, you make money, you look money, you walk money. That's what if you love handbags, if you love shopping, ain't nobody got to guess whether you love shopping or not. We're going to see you worshiping at the mall. Shopping at the mall. You're going to be over there doing your thing. You don't have to tell me what you love. If I look in your browser, if I look at what you've been Googling, okay, you might get rid of the history, but the advertiser's gonna tell about what you've been looking for. If you love handbags, handbag advertising gonna show up. If you like cars, it's gonna show up. Why? Because what you love is what you gonna pursue. And God says, if you're not pursuing me, you don't really love me. You might say you love me, but Jesus said they say with their mouths they love me, but their heart is far from me. Oh, God says, I want some, as the deer pants after the water brook. I want some, my soul thirsts for you. I want some, where can I go and meet with God? I want some of that newlywed love. Oh, Pastor, they can't keep their hands off of me. Or some of that young folk love, Pastor, they just sweating me. They thirsty. They all up on me. I wish they back up off of me. Stop thirsting like that. Get your composure. Back up off a joker. I know I'm sweet chocolate, but back up off me. My wife getting scared, think I'm going overboard. Come on. God said relationships change. Your mood changes. But God said, I'm the same yesterday, today, and forevermore. He said, if you ain't feeling me, I'm where you left me. He said, I ain't the one who changed. You got the chick. You really want to be wholehearted after God. Because when you go after him wholeheartedly, he is poised to deliver you to your destiny. Tell somebody, I want my destiny. Look at what he says in verse 11. He says, for I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you, not to harm you. Plans to give you hope. Plans to give you a future. Is there anybody in here who can feel it in your spirit that God has greater plans for you? Is there anybody in here who knows that God has a destiny that he's trying to peel one layer at a time? Is there anybody can feel with an expectation and anticipation that God's about to open up the floodgates of heaven? Somebody ought to give God some destiny praise up in here because it's coming your way. He said, but hear me, that kind of destiny comes from a person who has a heartfelt hunt for God. You got to go wholeheartedly. Y'all remember Caleb, don't you? Joshua and Caleb are the only ones who came back with a good report. And over in Numbers 14, it says that Caleb had a different spirit. Caleb also, his name means dog. In other words, he wasn't just a little dog, he was a big dog. See, a big dog, when they clamp down on you, they don't let you go until you surrender. See, the problem is we got too many poodles in the kingdom. See, we yap, but then we back up off of it if it don't give you what you're looking for in the beginning. See, but a big dog like Caleb runs up and takes a bite out of blessing and say, I ain't gonna let you go until you. Do I have any big dogs in the house? Do I have any big dogs who ain't gonna let God go until God? Come on, Caleb had a different spirit. Caleb didn't have a religious spirit. He didn't have a pretty spirit. He didn't have a laid-back spirit. But he said, we can go and take the land. Do I have any folks up in here who are ready to go get what God has for them? You got to have a different spirit. Somebody say different spirit. See, not only does he want to give you your destiny, baby, he wants to lead you into your prosperity. Somebody say your prosperity. Turn over to Second Chronicles 14. 2 Chronicles 14. God said, I just don't want to tell you you got your destiny coming. He said, but the real deal, when I give you your destiny, it ain't just for your generation. It's to 1,000 generations. So how you go after him today is going to depend on what God does to 1,000 generations. You can break curses in your family by lining up right now and worshiping him. But he said, I also want to give you your prosperity. Somebody say prosperity. I can deal with that. 2 Chronicles 14, verse 7. This is King Asa. He's the third king of Judah. And he helped lead the people back to God. So King Asa, a good politician, was saying to the people in verse 7, let us build up these towns. He said to Judah, and put walls around them. In other words, let us rebuild Chicago from the south side and the west side up. Hear me. He says, with towers and gates and bars. He says, the land is still ours. Look at somebody and say, the land is still yours. Say it again. Say, it's still yours. He says, because we have sought the Lord our God. We sought him. And because we sought him, he has given us rest on every side. So they built and they prospered. When you seek him, God says, I prosper you. Not only do I give you prosperity and give you destiny, but I take care of your enemies. Because I give you rest on every side. They can come at you, but they can't get in. Because when you're going after him, he is your refuge and your strength. And oh, y'all need to hear me. Tell your neighbor, you really want to go after him this year. Come on, shake him and say you want to go after him this year. Shake him again and say it's time to go hunting. We're going hunting after God. We're God chasers. We're going after him like we've never. Come on. Okay, Reverend, you're doing all that preaching. How do I do it practically? Tell me how to do it since you got me in here. The way you go after him wholeheartedly is to go after him wholeheartedly and intentionally, seeking him in his word. Somebody say, in his word. Come on, y'all remember John 1 and 1. Y'all remember John 1 and 1? In the beginning was the word. The word was with God, and the word was God. Somebody say, with God and was God. He was with God in the beginning. The word, was with God in the beginning. Through him, all things were made. Without him, nothing was made that has been made. The Holy Ghost was there, but nothing was going to happen until God said, let there be. See, you're pregnant. You're ripe to give delivery, but you need the seed of the word. Jesus said, man does not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of God. Your job ain't gonna do it. Your will ain't gonna do it. Only the word can do it. Your connections won't do it. Only the word can do it. Somebody say the word. Everything begins and ends with the word. Hit your neighbor and say, stay awake. Because now we got to treat you a little while. Turn over to Deuteronomy 6. It all starts and ends with the word. Tell your neighbor, look on with me. Come on, Deuteronomy 6 and 6 says, these commandments that I give you today are to be upon your hearts. He says, impress them on your children. Talk about the word when you sit at home and when you walk along the road, when you lie down and when you get up. Come on, he says, tie them as symbols on your hands and bind them on your foreheads. Write them on the door frames of your houses and your gates. Talk about the word. Let the word be the last thing you read before you go to sleep. You looking at the news and going to sleep on that. That'll drive you crazy. Come on, look at the word.